Let's move on now to the next topic. And the next topic today comes to us from Jack Leo, who writes, "Hey guys, hello there, Jack. I read a tweet today from Jeff Fowler, the director of the upcoming Sonic the Hedgehog movie, saying that they're going to completely redesign the character because of all the backlash the movie is receiving online. Normally, I don't like when movies change direction because of what the fans want to see, but I might make an exception here considering how much hate the movie is getting right now. What are your thoughts on this?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, Jack. And yes, yesterday something happened that should never happen. Something happened yesterday that should never happen, which is filmmakers decided to let online chatter dictate a creative direction or a creative decision they had made. You know, guys, I often use this great quote from the legendary NFL coach who said, "Coaches who listen to fans are destined to be sitting with them next week." In other words, they're not fit to be coaches. Filmmakers make creative decisions. It's a creative format. They do it in consultation with their teams and their other fellow creative filmmakers. And you need to stick with your creative vision and creative direction. You can't start giving in to the screams of the angry mob. You know your vision. They don't. Make a decision, have your vision, follow through with it. I mean, hell, even I, who hated the casting of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, just because I don't think she's a talented enough actress. I still don't. But if you guys remember a while ago, somebody wrote in a question and said, "John, do you think it's time that they recast Wonder Woman for the next one?" And I said, no. Look, I don't like the fact that they cast Gal Gadot because I don't think she's that talented of an actress. From everything I hear, she's a wonderful person. But it's done. She's cast now. Unless something terrible happens and she can't do it or something like that, you don't change it. That's who they picked. That's who they're working with. You stick with it. Just because I bitch and moan and complain that I didn't like that decision, the decision's made. Stick with it. So when I was asked, do I think they should recast Gal Gadot, I said, hell no. No, you shouldn't. You made the choice. That's your vision. You stick with it and go. You do not change her out at this point. But John, you didn't like the casting. I know I didn't. But they made the call. I believe they should stick with it. You know, it's kind of like, I don't like the Star Wars prequels, right? But then oftentimes I get questions from people saying, "John, do you think they should retcon the prequels? Do you think they should reboot the prequels? Do you think now they should say the prequels aren't canon?" I go, hell no. I may not like them, but they're canon. It's done. They're canon. I often say that the prequels to me are a lot like, that embarrassing uncle that every family has. Every family has an embarrassing uncle who's an embarrassment to the family, hooked on 50 different addictions, still lives in your grandmother's basement, blah, blah, blah. Maybe they're an embarrassment to the family, but they're family and you don't touch the family. That sort of thing. Look. So basically, the look of Sonic the Hedgehog comes out. And look, I'm not a major Sonic the Hedgehog guy. I didn't play that. I was playing other systems when this game was out. But I look at it and like, okay, yeah, that's Sonic. Clearly, that's Sonic the Hedgehog. Do I think he looks good? No, I don't think he looks good. No, I don't. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This guy ain't nothing gonna make this character look good in a live action movie. Sorry, this is a fucking ridiculous looking character, particularly if you in an animated format, it's fine. You're gonna try to bring this character into a live action format, no matter what you do, he's gonna look absolutely ridiculous. The whole notion of this movie is absurd, but whatever, lots of movies that I get a kick out of are absurd when you break it down to it, so whatever. But does the design look good? No. Should the filmmakers have caved to online screams and cries despite the fact that, no, it doesn't look good? No, they shouldn't have. They shouldn't have. Here's the thing. Back in the day, back in 1999, 98, 99, when they announced Hugh Jackman, who nobody had heard of, was cast as Wolverine. It's a good thing social media wasn't as big as it is today, because, everybody loves to rewrite history. and clean up history. I remember what happened. Everybody screamed bloody murder when Hugh Jackman, this 6'1", 6'2" Aussie Broadway dancer, was cast as Wolverine. Everybody lost their shit. Everybody lost their minds. How dare they? That's not Wolverine. Not, and there's not my Wolverine. And everybody was so mad. And everybody was so upset. And I get it. I mean, Wolverine's supposed to be 5'2", 5'3". Okay, they're going in a different direction. Okay. And they went with somebody totally different, and everybody lost their minds. Had social media been around at the time, and had Fox been as spineless as Paramount was, they would have gone, oh, well, sorry, okay, guys, sorry, okay, you don't like this guy? All right, we'll change him up. But what happened? They stuck with their guy, even though everybody was screaming bloody murder. And now today, it's difficult for any of us to imagine anybody else playing Wolverine other than Hugh Jackman. What about Warner Brothers? Again, a lot of people like to rewrite history and pretty up history. Fact of the matter is, when they announced Heath Ledger was going to be the Joker, people lost their crap. People lost their minds when Heath Ledger was cast as Joker. And everybody's like, the Brokeback Mountain guy is going to be Joker? You know, and all the pretty boy, Brokeback Mountain pretty boy is going to be, and everybody was mad and upset. And had social media been as prevalent and Twitter had been as prevalent as it is today then, and if Warner Brothers had been as spineless as Paramount, they go, oh, okay, you hate him as Joker, okay, we'll change him. Well, what happens today? They stuck with it. They stuck to their guns, because Christopher Nolan isn't going to be told by Jack the bus driver who he should cast in his movies. He kept the guy that he wanted. He had his vision. He stuck with his vision. And now many of us seem to think that Heath Ledger may have given the greatest performance ever in the history of comic book movies. Hell, he won an Academy Award. Now, are these situations apples to apples comparisons to, like, everybody screaming bloody murder about the look of Sonic and changing that? It's not an exact apples to apples comparison. No, there are some differences, but the principle is the same. The principle of, you have a filmmaker who has a creative vision, made a creative decision, and now is hearing from people before they've seen the movie. People haven't seen the movie, but we're screaming and hollering. And let's face it, we as film fans like to scream and holler and bitch and moan and complain once in a while. I do it, you do it, we all do it on different things. And in this particular one, the look of Sonic got a lot of people bitching and moaning, complaining, and screaming to high heaven. That's what we do. While it's not an apples-to-apples comparison to like the Hugh Jackman situation or the Heath Ledger situation, the principle is the same. A filmmaker made a creative decision, and they should stick with their creative decision. People haven't seen the movie. They don't know how this is all going to work within context of the full movie. Stick to your vision and your decision and move forward. Don't listen. I mean, let us voice our concerns and our complaints. That's what we as film fans do, and we should be allowed to do that. But also, you as a filmmaker should stick with the visions that you have. Believe in your vision and carry it through. So I don't like the fact, I think it's actually, quite frankly, a dangerous precedent that Paramount and Fowler's are bringing up here by saying, because basically what you've now told everybody is, you told everybody, if you cry and scream loud enough, you'll make us change what we're doing. Christopher Nolan never would have let Jack the bus driver tell him what he should do with his movies, and I don't think anybody should. Now, that being said, there's another side to this coin. All right, there's another side to this coin. You see, on the one hand, this movie is coming out in a matter of months, 5-6 months. On the one hand, I'm hearing some people raising a lot of concerns, going, visual effects are a heavy loaded responsibility that is incredibly time eating. It's incredibly time intensive. It's incredibly labor intensive, blah, 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 blah. To try to rush now through redoing the design and the look of this character and having it ready in time for the movie coming out is going to overwork visual effects houses. It's going to put some visual effects companies out of business. It's going to hurt a lot of people, and you're going to end up with a rush product at the end, blah, 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 blah. I've been hearing a lot of people voice those concerns, and I understand why they're voicing them. However, let me offer this. Kind of as a counter to my own argument. The reality is, changing the design and the look of the character may actually be a little bit less labor intensive than you might think at the outset. Because I think a lot of people, when they hear the idea that we got to redesign Sonic, understandably what comes in their heads is, now we got to start from scratch. We got to start from scratch. But that's not necessarily the case. Now look, I'm going to super oversimplify this, and maybe it'll make no sense, and there are exceptions to this and blah, blah, granted. But when it comes to making CGI characters, there are several different stages of it. There's the modeling, there's the rigging, there's the animating, right? So, the modeling, you make the character. What does the character look like? Then there's rigging the character, giving the character its bones, its joints, its points of articulation that allow the character to move and have life. Then the actual animation of making all that happen, right? There is a conceivable reality here where all they need to do here is redesign the character and then just take the model and replace the existing model with the new model, with all the rigging intact, with all the animation intact. I'm sure they would have to do some things to change it up. But it's kind of like this. Imagine you have you're writing a paper. Imagine you're writing a paper and you're writing it in a Word document or a Google Docs. I haven't used Microsoft Word in like 10 years. So I'm using a Google Docs, right? And I've written this 200-page article. And all of a sudden, I realize, oh my God, I've been calling this one guy in my article Luke when his real name is Terry. Do I need now to delete my entire 150-page article and start again, this time writing in the word Terry? No. All I need to do is a quick search and replace. Search for Luke and replace with Terry. Go. Vroom. Done. Now, that's an oversimplification of what's going to be happening here with the Sonic the Hedgehog situation. But essentially, again, they only have to redo part of it. Redo the model, then put that into all the existing work that's already there with the rigging and the animation and stuff like that, and re-render it. And I'm sure there are touch-ups that have to go on along the way, and I'm sure I'm oversimplifying it by about tenfold. But the point is, redoing the character at this point isn't actually as massive of an undertaking as you might think. So you could make an argument that, you know what, we all know the character doesn't look good. And maybe there's an argument made if it would shut some crybabies up, and we're all crybabies when it comes to movies from time to time. That's part of the fun of being a film fan. If it'll shut some of us crybabies up, and it's not that labor intensive for us to make that change, then maybe it's worth it. Now, again, for me in principle, I do not like the precedent of letting us, the film fans, dictate what a filmmaker's creative vision is. We always scream and cry as film fans, studios shouldn't interfere. Oh, but I don't like the design of that character. Let me interfere. Not the studio, but let me interfere. There's that. I don't like the principle of filmmakers altering their creative decisions based on what we the mob, scream at them. But the counter to my own argument, I think, is if it's not that big of a deal to change, but it feels like a big change, and it could shut some crybabies like me up, then maybe there's an argument to be made that it might just be worth it to do it. So yeah, there's a couple of different ways of looking at it, I think. On the one hand, I think it sets a very bad precedent. On the other hand, if it's not such a big deal and it's not that big of a deal to change, why not just do it? So I can see both sides of the argument. What do you guys... Now remember, I'm not asking you, do you think the design of Sonic looks good? Sonic is not going to look good no matter what they do. Let's just accept that right now. Sonic the Hedgehog in a live action environment is not going to look good no matter what they do. So let's just come to peace with that. So I'm not asking you if you think it looks bad. I'm asking you, do you think that filmmakers should change their artistic direction and vision based on what we scream at them? I don't think they should. Some of you maybe think they should, but whatever. Jump down the comments and what do you think about my counter argument that, hey, it's not that big of a deal to make the change, so maybe it's worth it. What do you think about that? I don't know what you guys think. I think this is a topic that is going to be something that I think we can be talking about for weeks on end. I want to know what you guys think and feel. Jump down in the comment section below and let me know how you approach this and what your thought process on. Again, I'm not asking you if you thought the character looks good. I think most of us agree it didn't look good. But does that justify making, us as a mob, making filmmakers change their artistic decisions and their artistic directions? I don't think they should. I think it's a bad precedent. But if it's not that big of a deal, should you? Even I'm torn. Jump down to the comment section. Convince me one way or the other. I want to hear from you guys.